recording? We good? Yeah. Hey. Hi. What up? Good? Alright, let's go. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, guys? It's Justin, one half of the Second City Podcast, here to let you in on a little secret. The secret is that this podcast is sponsored by Anchor. And if you ever heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So sit back and let me explain. It's free, guys. That's right, you've heard me. It is free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so we can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So do yourself a favor right now. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started now. Welcome to the Second City Podcast. I am your host, Justin.
And I guess by default, I am Andrew.
Yes, you are Andrew by default. So on this episode, it's going to be a special episode. We have 3 out of the 4 members of Off the Record podcast. We have Mike, Brandon, and Alex. Welcome, guys, to the show. How are you guys?
What's up, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having us on, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. So just so to catch everybody up that don't know, what is your guys' podcast about? Like, how did it all start? Where did it all begin? And kind of like, what is your end game for your podcast?
Go ahead, Alex.
You're the talker, man. I thought you might want to go ahead and do it.
You're the chairman, man. Go ahead and put us out there.
So, out of all 4 of us, I've been podcasting the longest. So I have a show called Laker Central that I started 3 years ago, and I was podcasting, and none of them knew that I was a podcaster. I was doing it, didn't tell anybody, and then me, Mike, and another one of our friends were on the way to an Orioles game, and somehow we got on the topic of podcasts, and I was like, you know, I got a podcast, right? And it was almost like a record scratch, like what? You got a podcast? And I was like, yeah. I said, go to iTunes or whatever. They went, played it, and they were like, this is crazy. So, I think Mike, Brandon, and some of our other friends had been talking about doing a podcast for a while. I didn't know they were talking about doing that. Like, I was just doing my own thing. And then when Mike heard that I had a podcast, we started talking about, well, is there an opportunity to do like another show? So we brought Brandon in, started talking to him, then Quan, and Off the Record, OTR was born in order to give 4 black men an opportunity to speak, you know, about politics, racism, relationships, goof off sometimes when we do that, really cover all angles just from 4 different perspectives.
Nice. Yeah, because I was, there's so many podcasts out there. And it's hard to find certain podcasts. I mean, you can listen to a shit ton. I mean, there's so many, regardless of what genre you want to listen to. There's so many out there. But I like to kind of steer it towards the podcasts that are like more like independent, or it's like people that are friends or family that just kind of like come together and they just create something. To me, it's a little bit more valuable, and it's a little bit more in person, where you can be more relatable to them. Like how long have you guys been around?
October,
Yes, about about
October
8 months.
Yeah. Well, I think we actually. So I think around October we started to record some pilot shows. We did a couple just to see how it worked, to see how we liked it or whatever. And I think we officially dropped in November. of last year. So yeah, October, November we started at it, but we kind of what Alex is leaving out is one thing is like the four of us are lifelong friends, so we've all known each other for like 20 plus years. So when we heard he had a podcast for 3 years, we were like, what the hell? Like,
wait, that's 3 years without knowing that he had a podcast.
3 years.
They're not Lakers fans, man, so there was no reason to tell them.
But listen, but at the time that we found out, like, it was starting to blow. His Lakers Central show was starting to blow. As you, I don't know if your listeners can see, but I have a shirt on. But it was starting to blow. So I'm like, dude, like, were you ever going to say anything? And he was just like, nah. I mean, I was just going with it. So, we had a conversation, and I was like, yeah, me and Brandon have been talking about doing it. We just didn't know where to go, how to start with it. So it was a perfect match or a perfect marriage, because by that time, with his 3 years experience, you got me and Brandon who have no clue where to start, but was interested. We just kind of piggyback off of Alex and what he knew, and then, like you said, off the record was born from there.
Yeah, no, it's I enjoy your guys' content. It's I listen to it whenever you guys drop. I listen to it. There's certain ones. Like for me, like I'm able to listen at work. I'm able to listen to to all podcasts. So I'm not really interrupted by anybody. So I have a good 8 hours to listen to podcasts. But I look forward to when your episodes drop. It's entertaining. It's amusing to me.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no problem. So when you guys started, was there anything that kind of like was going to be maybe like a challenge to you guys when you guys started the podcast together?
Biggest challenge is probably getting all four of us on the same page.
I couldn't imagine. Who driving?
Yeah, we've just it's wonderful knowing each other for like over 20 years, but then you also know each other's tendencies. You know what I'm saying? And even now that we're adults and like, we're different men than we were boys when we all were hanging out all the time, but you still remember, like, you still kind of treat each other sometimes like you're still 17 and 18 goofing off. But just getting all of us on the same page, that was probably an issue when we started, and that will probably always be an issue just by the nature of our personalities.
It's like being in a band, you guys, because it's like I remember when I would have to do practice with my bandmates when I was in band a while ago, and it's like one guy's like, oh, I can't, I'm working. The other guy's like, oh, I can't, I'm with my old lady. And the other guy's like, oh, I can't because I'm doing whatever. But you knew that each and every one of them was well, I don't know about your case, but I knew that they're all just fucking around. They just didn't feel like practicing. So it's very hard getting us all together to practice in the same room, So.
Yeah. We tease each other because we like there's a so I'm sure you guys may or may not be familiar with like New Edition and Bobby Brown, and in that group, like Bobby Brown was kind of like the dude that did his thing. He would show up to rehearsal late.
Here we go.
Here we go. So depending on whichever one of us is late for whatever show we're doing, that guy is a Bobby Brown for that week. So but yeah, that's definitely the challenge. I want to let Brandon get in and talk, but yeah, I'm pretty sure the three of us, even with Quan, the four of us would agree that getting us all together, getting on the same page is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have anything, new to really, add on to that. I mean, it is what it is, but, I mean, yeah, it was basically in the beginning, like for me, it was just like, hey, let's get together, shoot the shit, let's see where it goes. And it's actually been fun and kind of therapeutic for myself. I don't know if it has been for you guys. But yeah, definitely the biggest challenge is getting us all together on the same page. But we managed to do it consistently, put out some decent content. And like I said, I appreciate that you took a listen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like for me and Andrews, we're family, so we're cousins. There's a 10-year age difference between us. But I know when we
only 10 years.
only 10.
You're fucking
It's a
old.
long 10 years. But like for us, even though like we live, like 30 minutes from each other, sometimes getting it together is like a hassle.
Yeah.
So, but at least because we had attempted, we had started this probably like a year ago, and then we just kind of fell off, and now we just kind of like started right back up, but we still had our old episodes, so we're able to kind of like backlog everything and start everything. So as of like right now, we've been consistent, and actually putting out episodes, which is kind of refreshing for us. It's kind of like out of norm for us, right, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I figured that this shit was just gonna end and that was gonna be it, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it's been picking up, so that's good.
No, the good thing is he's definitely, we're like the yin and yang. Like he's a little bit more, out of at times. A little bit more out of the box, and I'm a little bit more inside the box. But
You gotta have that balance.
Yeah, the good thing with that is like we've done episodes where we've talked and we've kind of like opened up to each other that we normally wouldn't even open up if we were to, if we had a family party, we wouldn't be talking like that. But when it's just us two, we open up with each other, and so like therapeutic wise, I hear on that.
There's so much shit that I wish I didn't know about you.
Oh my god, there's a lot of shit that I wish I didn't know about you. That's for sure.
Those make for interesting stories over the years, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, like when you guys do your podcasts, who comes up? Who's kind of like the ringleader? Who kind of comes up with all the ideas, the episodes, or is something you guys bounce off of each other?
We try to be democratic, but I mean, if somebody would throw an idea out, whether it's whatever the show topic is. Hey, you guys, what about this? And sometimes it's crickets. And other times, like somebody will be like, "Oh, cool," and then it's just like all of us agreeing to it. And usually, it's like, well, if the majority rules, that's generally the situation. But usually, we just throw things up in the air, depending on what's happening in the world or what's happening in our personal lives. And or Brandon will go to like a Facebook group and see women hating men, and then be like, "Hey, let's talk about that."
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's weird when we get our content. I mean, sometimes like. Lately, people have been tweeting us or texting us or whatever and saying, "Hey, you guys should talk about this." So we've been drawing a lot of our content from that. But yeah, really, like we just kind of throw it out there. It kind of just happens, or one of us will say, "Hey, yeah," or I doubt that. I'll say this: it's probably rare that the four of us are actually feeling every topic that's thrown out there. So it's like, because I know for myself, there's times where it's something thrown out and the three of them will be like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, like, okay. But
yeah, I'll just be there. I'll just show up.
Right. But I already know like it's hard enough to get us together or get us like on that page. So if the majority of us are with it, then it's I'm like, all right, let's just go with it. So it typically happens that way. I'll give Alex some credit too. Alex will he will reel us in most of the time and say, hey, all right, look, let's just talk about this. Let's spend 30 minutes on this. Let's do it this way, and then we'll go forward. And then it's like, all right, cool. We'll just rock with that.
Do you guys got like multiple like accounts, like a Twitter, a Facebook, Instagram, and like all that shit, or this is just the podcast?
Nah, we definitely have multiple accounts. I know I have multiple accounts myself.
Yeah.
Who manages them all?
We had it. I think Mike manages the main profiles on Instagram. I think we all have the access to Facebook, but Mike pretty much manages those. And then we all kind of have like our own personal ones on Twitter. I know I have two separate ones on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
And that's too much fucking responsibility. I don't know if I could ever invest myself that much into this shit.
Well, the personal ones I have, I pretty much ignore those. The only time I go to those is like I'm talking to family, but other than that, I just stay with OTR. It is work though.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
Yeah, my personal account's pretty much done. I mean, everything I funnel everything that's OTR through them. You know what I mean? Especially when we were starting, and I had more followers on my personal accounts at the time, so I would push everything through them to build up some followers or whatever. But now my mainstay is all the OTR accounts. I mean, we all have like an OTR, like Brandon is OTR Brandon. I'm OTR underscore Mike. Alex was OTR Pod, but he's just switched his, and then Quan is OTR Quan. So we kind of have that. And then basically, I guess it's looked at as my handle is pretty much the main Twitter handle for the podcast, because we don't have a handle just for the podcast itself. So we kind of do it that way, and then we just bounce off of each other like that.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, I contacted you to start this, to get this thing rolling. Because I was like, where do I even begin? Where do I even start with? So I was like, I'll just start with Mike. But so with the four of you guys, was there are there times where you guys are just like, I this is just like not gonna work?
Well, what do you mean, like as far as picking a topic, or
no, just like just a podcast in general, like where you're like, all right, you know what, this is like trying to get everybody at the same page. Then because 4 guys, that's a lot to come together to do a podcast.
Like the longevity of your guys' podcast.
I think I mean, from my standpoint, I mean, like we're all adults. We all have shit that we're doing outside of podcasting. Initially, I got into it with these guys because I enjoyed doing it. I enjoy discussing topics with the fellas. So for real, it's stuff that we do. It's almost forcing us to spend time together, to be honest with you. And when I look at it from that standpoint, it's something that I would want to do anyway. So, I don't know if I ever think, hey, this is not going to work, but there are times even like now where we might not put out as many episodes as we have in the previous months. But I mean, we know we'll get right back to it as soon as everybody get their schedules in order, and so that's not a thing.
So how has this quarantine affected you guys? Because this shit it's like it ain't fun.
Yeah, well, it added. The negative side was because we would meet up with each other at one of our homes to record, typically every Saturday morning. So it kind of derailed that. We had to move to virtually, but it sucked in that regard. But it did open up another avenue for us, because now we're doing live shows now, which then helped us open up a YouTube channel and things like that. So what we're learning is, once we started it, first off, we're learning that people enjoy our live shows. They like to interact with us as we're recording. So that's been cool. I guess I would have thought, since we moved virtually, that we would get a little more content out. But we're in Maryland, so now things are pretty much opening back up. So most of us are back to work or doing whatever. So it hasn't picked up as much as I thought, but early on it was. And I enjoy the fact that we do get to interact and do live shows. So it sucks, but it was some positives out of it.
Yeah. So Maryland, but then we have a Lakers fan.
Yeah, man.
How did that go about?
I mean, so I've been a Lakers fan for 25 years, and if you're familiar with Maryland, I mean, only the closest team is when I was growing up, the Bullets, but now the Wizards, right? And I mean, even if you're from DC or Maryland, you don't want to cheer for the Wizards. I mean, that's my opinion. I know there's obviously there's a lot of fans that the Wizards have, but I mean, the way I became a Lakers fan, man, I was a Shaq fan when he was at LSU, and then I was a big Shaq fan when he went to Orlando. So my very first NBA jersey was a champion jersey, a Shaq jersey. My younger brother had a Penny Hardaway jersey. So I was a big Shaq guy. And then when Shaq goes to LA in '96, I go with him. And so like ever since then, man, like I couldn't imagine cheering for anybody else. Like I can't. It's the Lakers are so ingrained in my life. You can see the pictures in the background. I've got a huge Lakers like mouse pad in front of me. Everything is Lakers in my room. I mean, I don't know. It's just I don't know why you would cheer for any other franchise. I just don't understand why.
So the only time I ever cheered for the Wizards was when Jordan was there for a couple of years. That's the only time that I cheered for the Wizards. Other than that, no, I'm not cheering for the Wizards. But in the same sense, so I'm a sports guy, and Andrew, I mean, you can just say you're not a sports guy. But I'm a sports guy. And, we're in Illinois. We're basically in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm not a Bulls fan. I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan. So and I'm not a Bears fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. Yeah. So I don't go with anything Chicago when it comes to teams.
Oh man. I have family in Chicago. They're nothing but Chicago. Bears, Cubs.
Yeah, not me.
Are you one of those San Antonio fans that thinks Tim Duncan's better than Kobe?
Oh.
Honestly,
here we go.
No. I respect what Tim Duncan did in his position for a big guy. I think that he was definitely athletic for his size, but I wouldn't put him above Kobe. Like which that is an argument that I don't understand, and I'll never understand. But how people will grade that, I have the slightest idea. But I would never, as a Spurs fan and enjoying Tim Duncan's career, I would never put him over Kobe.
That's the right answer. But I mean, look, hey, Tim Duncan's an all-time great, man. He's certainly a legend, and so seeing him go into the Hall of Fame with Kobe and with Kevin Garnett, that's three dudes that really set the tone, I think, for the NBA post Jordan. So much respect to Tim Duncan.
Oh yeah, I mean this Hall of Fame class was a solid class that went in, so can't complain about that. So with the podcast, like I said before, so when me and Andrew record, there's like a boundary to a certain extent of where we kind of like take our views and our opinions. Is that something where you guys don't really care, or you will cross that line? Like, how do you guys approach that?
You want me to take this one?
Go ahead.
I think with this platform that, we wanted to be able to say what we felt needs to be said, with the platform that we've been given. At the same time, we've been raised as decent folks. So I think, we'll have conversations about certain topics where we'll say, hey, do we want to talk about this, or do we want to steer away from it? But however, I don't think if we have an angle for, with which we want to talk about something, I think we'll talk about it no matter what it is. But, if we're kind of like, if this is like an open discussion, we don't really have it mapped out or planned out what we want to say about it. Of course, you don't want to step on toes. But then again, once the mic goes live, I mean, that's why people want to know what your opinion is, how you feel about certain things. So we try to keep it as real as possible. I mean, I know I try not to hold any punches. Sometimes we'll tease each other about pussyfooting around, but we'll hit the hard topics too. We ain't afraid of those.
Hey, real quick, I don't know what you mean hold shit back. I don't fucking hold nothing back, dude.
Yeah.
like I'm not saying I'm like, oh, I'm a badass or anything, but it's like, if you're a fucking racist, dude, fucking kill yourself. Like, I'm willing to say that. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Like, I don't know. I don't know what Justin's talking about. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's in podcasting. It's important to be authentic, man. Yeah. And so, like, we have families, we have jobs, careers away from podcasting. So, like, it is important not to put your family or jeopardize your career. But also, I'm a big believer in if you're man enough to say it behind closed doors, you should be man enough to say it on the mic, right? Yeah. And so, like, if you hate women, but then you want to go on the mic and be like, oh, well, equality and this and that, don't fake the funk. Like, if you really believe that, say what you believe and then deal with the backlash. So I think it's important to be authentic.
Yeah. So with that, like, has your social media, like, has it been affected by others that have listened to your shows and just where they just don't simply agree with anything you guys say?
Well, me personally, honestly, believe it or not, like, especially if we want to talk about the current climate, like the George Floyd thing and the protests and everything that's going on, my Twitter following actually has gone up. I don't know if you guys saw it, but a couple shows ago, I kind of put out a challenge to podcasters that look like us, podcasters that don't look like us, to kind of speak up about it. And like my friend here said, like, if it's wrong, if you're wrong, you're wrong. So if you feel like that situation was wrong, call that shit out. And honestly, like, people they kind of got behind that, and I started to get more followers and people, DMing me, asking me, for my advice and things like that. But we went into it, and any topic that we go into, the last thing we worried about is losing followers. Like, if you don't want to listen to us after something that we say, or something that we address, because I know that us as a podcast, we're not going to do or say anything that offends anybody. We're going to speak from our heart and speak how we feel, but we speak about it genuinely. So if you're a true listener of us, then you know where we come from, you know where our heart lies. So if you unfollow us because of something that you don't agree with, we don't give a shit about that. And I said that when I challenged everybody, like, listen, if you don't want us to be talking about this type shit, then we're not the show for you. So
Yeah,
we don't worry about that.
The people who probably don't like our opinions wouldn't have tuned into us anyway, right? Like, if you see a podcast by 4 black dudes, you assume they're going to be pro-black and speak on issues that impact the black community. So if you're tuning in thinking we're going to be pro-Trump, well, you're an idiot, right? Like, you shouldn't have tuned in anyway. But like,
well, there are the Hodge twins, and I didn't.
I had a roommate in college that he would watch them nonstop, and I thought they were cool or whatever because weightlifting or whatever. And it turns out they're fucking idiots. So it's like, oh man.
Man, it's crazy. Like, when I talk about things that's happening, like whether it's police brutality or equality, or I talk about Trump, like I talk about it a lot on Laker Central now because, one, I've got a really large platform with it, right? So I need to use my platform for good. And when I go off, away from sports, sometimes I lose followers, sometimes people get upset, but like, I put all the hours into this. I put all the money into doing this. Like, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna do what I want. It's my platform. If you want to talk about horse shit, then you go start your own platform. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think for OTR, no one's gonna look at us and say, we're surprised those guys went there.
Yeah, because to me, when it comes to podcasts, I think that there are, the audience are so sensitive to certain things where, like, the media has, like, sensitized America. So when they hear people's views and opinions, whether it's on a podcast or through a tweet or Instagram, wherever, Facebook, wherever, that they become hurt just by someone's views and opinions, when whatever I say, it's just a view and opinion. It's my personal belief. I'm not saying it's the truth, and I'm not saying that's the way it should be. It's an opinion. But it just astounds me how people get offended by a view and an opinion. It baffles my mind.
I mean, but everybody on every side is gonna feel that way, don't you think? Like if I were to hear some really dumb, ignorant shit, like, yeah, I'm gonna be fucking upset about it because it's like, why are you saying something stupid? I mean,
I think it's because people don't know, like, people have an expectation of who a podcast host is, or who a celebrity is, or who an athlete is, right? And then when that perception is changed based on what they hear from that person, then sometimes they get offended. And the truth is, like, you really don't know. You don't know the person in front of you. Like, if they're not directly in front of you, if they're not in your life, like who they are on a podcast or in a movie or on a basketball court, like, that's very different from probably who they are in real life. And I think people get offended, if they hear somebody is, not who they thought they were.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good view. I had a thought and it went away. I hate when that happens. Andrew, you got something? You're thinking of something?
No, I'm just drinking.
So can I jump in here and ask you guys a question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So have you guys ran into that? Have you lost followers for certain opinions? Have you guys felt like, hey, let me step back on this topic because I don't want the backlash or whatever?
So with me, so I kind of do a lot of the social media, and if I have like ideas for the show, I'll bounce it off of Andrew. But I'm kind of like steering away. So the good thing about this is like hearing you guys, like I almost kind of hold certain things back because I have I'm married, I have 2 kids, I'm not saying that I'm gonna become someone huge, but I also in the back of my mind I'm like, okay, what if I do say something and it does come back and then it affects my family?
Mm-hmm.
But hearing the way you guys are talking, it's like maybe I should, because there are some things where I do kind of keep to myself when we're talking, and there are episodes where I come up with where I try not to stir the pot, where I'll kind of keep it neutral for everybody to listen to, but. Like I said, hearing you guys is kind of it's like yeah. If me and Andrew are gonna discuss something and people do not like it, then it's gonna be no sweat off my back if they choose not to listen to us anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Every listener that you lose is another opportunity for you to gain somebody else, man. Like that's kind of how I see it. I mean, when we talk, it's kind of like there are certain topics that are sensitive to each one of us. That maybe things we've been through personally or our families have been through that you don't always want to talk about. But in some cases, it's good to bring those things to light because someone else could benefit from our experience. And so it's a juggling of what do you hold back and what are you completely honest about. But that, I think our families trust that we're not going to say something that something too personal that might put a family member, embarrass a family member or jeopardize their job or anything like that.
Right. There's not holding back, and then there's being reckless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a difference there, and like Alex just said, we're probably not going to say anything reckless, but I mean, we're going to share our opinion. We understand, this platform, the potential of it. We intend to use it. And, like we always said, we had this conversation when we first started, before we even recorded anything. It was like, okay, we know we can't please everybody. Everybody's not going to like everything we say. And I think just in your own life experiences, at this point in our lives, we know that. So to even try to hide shit or try to pretend to be something else, that's just too much work.
I think that I guess I like borderline the reckless side of it or whatever, because I'm to the point where it's like I don't give a fuck who I upset because I don't know, I know that I'm I can't stand hatred and bigotry and people just being down for the sake of being down and keeping someone under their boot, and it's I'm not gonna fucking keep quiet anymore. I'm gonna say what I feel, and if it happens, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go out of my way to attack anybody or be a dick. But the thing is, I'm gonna say what I mean, and sometimes what you mean is I don't know, something that somebody could take offensively, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. And don't get us wrong. I mean, there's things that we say where one of us might catch the backlash from later on. I mean, we've had that moment. I know
Mike is the one that catches the backlash. Did you guys know that he makes his wife fix his plate?
Oh.
He literally just walks up to the table and sits down. I'm joking, Kamisha. I'm joking.
What I'm gonna say is I sit down and my plate gets served to me. So that'd be
See,
you guys are living in the 1950s, man.
Man, look, they hyped that up so bad. It's not what I said, but you know, and my fiance listens, so you know, of course, I caught that. Like, your friends think that I'm this, and I'm like, oh my god. So I mean, we have had those moments, but we never go into it with with any intent to put anybody in jeopardy or like Alex said before, to mess anybody's careers up or anything like that. But we really thrive on being genuine and being authentic, and that's just really when we set a topic, it's just us. I mean, don't get me wrong, we it's some structure behind what we're doing now, but like Brandon said before, it's just four friends shooting the shit. So if you take away the microphones and the equipment, the conversations will be the same way as they are when we get on behind the microphone. And I think we kind of live on that. We kind of push OTR based off of that.
So for people that are listening, like what, and especially for minorities, and my wife is white, so she has a kind of like a hard understanding of like minority, like the way or at least the way I think when it comes to certain things. Like she just doesn't really understand it. So and I try to explain to her, I'm here for everyone, but I also want the minorities that are in America to rise above, and to be able to be equals to everyone else, to get the pay that everybody else, to kind of be recognized for the contributions that they've done. And so like as much as, and she's she's been with me for a long time, so she understands that, but it's just kind of hard for her to to really understand and comprehend that. So with like your guys' podcast, do you kind of put it out where you're speaking to young Black males that are, that kind of like really don't know like where to go, and you kind of say, hey, you know what? Here's us four. We've been friends forever. We shoot the shit. Like, you guys can do the same shit and enjoy it as much as we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think, man, like all of us are pushing 40, right? And so I think redefining what it means to even be 38, 39, 40, like our parents were one way at 40, but here we are. All of us look pretty young. We all still do some of the same things that we found to be funny and interesting even when we were 20. Like, some things have changed. We've got families and real jobs and all that, but like other things, we still goof off and tease each other like we're still 18. And I think for our show, I feel like anyone that wants to dedicate some time to developing their voice and speaking on a podcast, they can do it. Anyone that thinks that when you get married and have kids or you start a career, like you have to be the way that maybe society said it was in like the 80s and 90s, like you can be completely different. So like, young, like for example, I think marriage is on the decline, right? And young people, they stay at home longer. They don't value marriage the way that maybe our parents or grandparents did. And so like, even when I got married, or before I got married, I had friends getting married, and, they talked about things like the wives complaining, or they couldn't hang out as much. And so like, they started to form a narrative in my own mind, like, wait, is marriage really like that? And then I get married and it's like, no, marriage is nothing like that. Like, I mean, yours may be, but you two can define it how you want. And I just think for any young Black dude or any Black person, any person, period, man, like there's a lot of different ways that you can go with your life. And I guess we're an example of that, it's crazy, but I guess we are. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say like one of my defining moments was when the young lady that was a student in college reached out to us. And she randomly reached out to me and said that she had to do a report on podcast, and she chose us, and the class loved it. And, she kind of reached out to us on a mentor type thing, like, hey, I want to start my own show. I'm doing a show at the university radio with the university radio station. I'm doing a topic on this. What do you think I should do and things like that. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I guess when we started this, like we never really thought of the reach that we would have with this. So it still shocks me now when someone reach out to me or reach out to one of us for advice and or say that they want to do the same thing or looking to start things. I mean, we get that time to time. So I don't know. I mean, it is like you said, Alice. It is kind of weird because I guess that's not what we exactly set out for. Now I'm a numbers guy. Like I'm always checking out numbers and stuff like that. But it wasn't. It didn't always start. I mean, we just really didn't have any expectations when we started that. But I enjoy getting those messages now and helping people the best way that we can. I mean, just like when you guys reached out, to ask that we come on. Like we still find that to be cool that the people want us to come on to their platforms. So I guess. Even with the success that we've had, it's still humbling to us, I guess, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I mean, like I said, I'm 35, so I guess I don't really like you. I never thought, whatever me and Andrew record that it might actually touch someone and be like, oh wow, like, you made me want to do this or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But just like for instance, for this, and when I reached out, the whole month of July, it's going to be, it's about episodes of creators. So creators of podcasts, creators. I got a comedian that's going to be lined up, and so it's like I want people to listen and hear that during whatever times that they're feeling, regardless of how you're feeling, you have a platform that you can rise up and speak your voice where you don't have to be unheard. And it's just yeah,
that's important, man. Like to use the platform, speak your voice, like that's important. Like I think sometimes, I don't know about Mike and Brandon, but I think there are just times when we're recording and it's like, well, maybe we're just talking into a mic, right? Like you don't even really think that people are gonna listen, and then you get a message. And like one guy said to me, like you're not speaking into like an empty room. Like people actually are listening to what you said. Like I was talking about racism on Laker Central one day, and this dude from South Carolina, old white dude, he DM'd me and sent me this long DM, and we were talking about racism, and he said he was going to play my podcast for his two children who were like I think 14 and 12, and I'm like, so some old white dude down in South Carolina heard my podcast about racism. Or like there's this young kid that just DM'd me the other day on Instagram. He's 16 and says he's been listening to my podcast for 2 years, and I inspired him to start a sports podcast. Or another dude the other day that just called me the blueprint for Lakers podcast, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like who would have thought? Like I feel like when we were growing up in the 90s, like you had to jump on TV or something like that, or have like a major radio station. But now, because of the internet, like whether it's YouTube or different ways to podcast, like if you have a voice, you can grow that voice, and there are people that are actually interested in listening to your opinion. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about technology. And for those creators who are willing to step out there and use their voice, I think that's like amazing.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I agree and with everything these guys said, but I think for me, podcasts it allows you to learn a lot about people, about what they think, and the example that Alice just shared is like a prime example of that. Now everybody has access pretty much to whoever's podcasting. You have access to these people's thoughts. Not everybody that's podcasting isn't famous, so you have ordinary people sharing their personal thoughts or whatever, and you learn about people, and that was a perfect example. That's one of the things I enjoy about podcasting. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, it's so we had a phone sex operator on our episode.
All right.
Let me tell you, wow, it sounds fun, but that shit was fucking uncomfortable.
Wow. So she was picking on Andrew the whole time, basically giving him a free sample of what she does. When you say like podcasting has allowed me to kind of interact with individuals that I would never probably even think about interacting with. She followed me, and so I was like, phone sex operator, that's new. Let's see if she wants to get on the episode. And it did, and we learned a lot.
She talked in like a sexy voice or something.
Yeah.
Sexy voice,
yeah. It was detailed. She thinks that she was gonna do to Andrew and everything. Oh wow. I had to leave.
I think I don't want to do anything.
Brandon might want our phone number. You might want to give it to
him. Yo said that. I'm good. I'm good. I'm okay.
Nah, that's good. So is there like kind of winding down? Is there kind of like any like last parting words that you would say to the listeners?
I guess I'll take this one. Any parting words? Hey, check out Off the Record podcast. I really don't have too much to say to that, I guess.
Let me ask you some random questions to get to know you guys more better. All right, so what are your guys' favorite movie?
Oh boy, you had to choose one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go Predator.
Really?
The ultimate man movie, Predator. I can watch it over and over and over again.
Okay.
I have two. So
Wait, hold on. You don't fuck with Predator?
No, it's not that I don't fuck with Predator. Okay, so like I'm like an arts dude. Like all I care about is like film, music, like fucking like just all of it. And it's like that, like, it's literally for the male machismo, like big buff dudes and I'm shooting a big fucking gun. It's a representation of my cock. This is my cock that I'm shooting. You know what I mean? And so it's like it's hard for me to be like take that. It's hard for me to suspend my belief enough to be able to enjoy it. Not that it's a bad movie. It's on my part that I.
It's the first one that popped up in my head, and I watched that over and over again. I could pick so many, but go ahead, man.
I have two, so I have to mention two. Now, I'm more focused on. So these guys are movie buffs, especially Brandon. Like me and Brandon have been friends, best friends since 4th grade. So he's always been in the movies. He gets on me to this day, like, did you not watch that? And I'm like, nah, I haven't seen it yet. but I'm more into like the acting side of it, like you said, Andrew. So like my two favorite movies are one, Gladiator, because I feel like Russell Crowe like killed that shit, and Malcolm X because I feel like Denzel killed that shit. Like they made me believe that they were the actual people. Well, I know Gladiator was fictional, but still, it was like I looked at Russell Crowe at the movie he did before that, and then I looked at him in Gladiator, and I was like, yo, this is a different dude. So those are my two favorites.
I don't really have like I don't have a favorite, man. I mean, there's a couple that come to the top of my mind. I mean, you heard Mike talk about he likes like the acting. He's the kind of dude that likes a plot with his porn, obviously. But
which there's nothing wrong with.
But I mean, just off the top of my head, probably like the original Friday or like House Party 1. Those are ones that I would watch all the time. And the movies these other guys mentioned are right there. I'd watch them all the time too.
Nice. I was Friday's a good movie. I wasn't a big fan of the second one. I like the original.
The original is classic. The issue with the second and third is there's no Smokey. There's no Chris Tucker.
Exactly. I mean, without Chris Tucker, the movie was complete shit. Unfortunately.
I didn't fuck with Day Day.
Ice Cube, if you're listening to this, I didn't say that. At some point. So I watched all 3 of the Fridays and hope that you make the 4th one.
All right, so if you were to pick one musical artist to play all day, who would it be?
Ooh, all day.
Yeah, see, that's a good one.
Anderson .Paak.
They gotta have a
Yes.
catalog.
Anderson .Paak, for real.
Anderson .Paak. I'm a big Anderson .Paak fan.
I can
Anderson
buy
.Paak,
that.
Free Nationals. That's my wave right there.
Ah, man.
All day. Mike Jackson. It's gotta be Michael Jackson, man. Somebody gotta have a deep catalog.
That's a good one. I'm gonna say. So I bet you Brandon thinks he knows who I'm about to say.
We both know you're gonna say.
So I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. They think that I would say Jay-Z, which is he would be close on that list, but I'm gonna say Stevie Wonder. I'm gonna
That's
age
who I was
myself.
gonna say. That's who I was gonna say. I wasn't gonna say Jay. I knew he was gonna say Stevie.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something like that, but Jay-Z would be a close second to that.
You know, Jay-Z, that would probably be my number one.
See?
Yeah, he would be my number one. I can listen to him all day.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but these dudes would have, they turned their face to the screen when it was my turn because they figured I was gonna say that. That dude. I'm that dude that went that goes to a Jay-Z concert, buys a front row ticket, and goes by myself and shit. I'm that dude. So
you know what, Mike? If he ever goes on tour again, I'm gonna hit you up and then we'll go together.
Let's go. Let's do it.
So all right. So if you guys had a superhero power, what would it be?
Oh shit. I would I would have that shit that Professor X had, the shit that make people change their minds. Control their
reading,
minds.
telekinesis.
Would you be a supervillain or a superhero?
I'd like to say I'd like to say I'd be a superhero, but once one get those powers, you never know what's gonna happen.
Oh man, that's a good one. I'd probably say the same, Professor X.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Jean Grey because she had Professor X's powers and could fly and manipulate matter and all that stuff. But reading minds is solid.
So, are you guys big more DC fans or Marvel fans?
Growing up, I read both. The GOAT superhero is Batman. I mean, he's the GOAT. But outside of that, I think the MCU is better than the DCU. But
I think that's just because Disney's got a fucking monopolization, and they know how to figure out how to make everything perfect for Marvel. Whereas DC is oh, you want to make a DC movie about a character? Go ahead, and there's no continuity to it.
The issue is Marvel lets comic book people make comic book movies, and Warner Brothers doesn't let comic book people make DC movies. That's the issue.
Oh, okay.
They had the Dark Knight Rises, which was an amazing trilogy. They could have launched the DCEU off of that, but they chose otherwise. So now we've got 4 different Batman since Christian Bale. But shout out to Michael Keaton. He's coming back. So
yeah, I was gonna say he's coming back, right?
Yep.
But he's only coming back to be part of what, the Flash film?
They're gonna do Flashpoint, which is a multiverse thing. I don't know if you guys are big comic book people, but the Flashpoint is basically threading together the multiverse and the DC universe. So they're going to bring all the different Batmans back.
Do you play? Do you play Injustice or just 2?
I used to play Injustice. I haven't played it in a long time though. With the second one.
Okay, it's really good.
All right. So last question. So if you're gonna have one dinner with 2 individuals, past, present, who would it be?
Barack Obama and Malcolm X.
That'd be an interesting one. I would just be able to fly a wall on that one.
Wow. I would say I would say James Baldwin and shit. I might have to go Barack as well. Somebody recent.
Oh man, that's a good one. I don't know. It's so many running through my head. It's so many. Shit, I think y'all got me on that one. I can't think of two.
How about if you can
know what?
fight somebody?
I'm a
elaborate that.
substitute. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. It's fine.
No, I was saying I was going to substitute Sam Cooke for Barack Obama. Sam Cooke. I didn't know he was as much of an activist as he was.
Change gonna come.
Hey. I always loved him as an artist, but he was like the man. I didn't recognize how much of an activist he really was, but he was like the man back in his day.
So Andrew, how about you fill in for Mike? Who would you pick?
My dad, for one, because I haven't seen him like ever, and then no, fuck that guy. I don't know. Probably. Can I say who I'd want to fight? Alive or dead?
Please
who
don't
I'd pick to fight, alive or dead?
Don't say Tyson or somebody like that.
No. Like I know I can't fucking hang. Like maybe if I had a knife or a gun, like maybe I'd have a chance with Mike Tyson. But who would I fight, alive or dead? Probably George Bush in his 30s.
Which George Bush? Their first?
The junior. No, fuck it, senior. Yeah, fuck it. I'm a
senior. Oh
senior
shit.
in his 30s. See if I can take him out.
So I just asked my fiance. She said Biggie and Aaliyah. That wouldn't be Biggie. Would be Biggie. I could see Aaliyah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was gonna say my dad because my dad passed a couple of years ago. But yeah, I'm gonna ride with Biggie. I'm gonna say Biggie. I'm gonna take one of hers, and I'm gonna say my dad will be the second.
There you go. So mine would be Jimi Hendrix and Johnny Cash.
That's interesting.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be an interesting conversation right there.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge Hendrix fan. My dad introduced me to him a long time ago on vinyl. So I'm obsessed with him. Johnny Cash is just he's an outlaw. So I kind of steer my way towards the outlaw.
Wow,
that would be dope.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be kind of strange. It'd be interesting though to see those two talk, see what kind of conversations that they would have.
Yeah, I got to get more into Jimi Hendrix. Like I've heard his music, but I haven't really like deep dive into his catalog like I wanted to yet. But I will get to that. I listen to a lot of shit.
Yeah, with that is I took art through all high school, and every project that I ever had to do in art, I would just lock myself in my room, put on Hendrix, and then just like feel the vibes and just like ink to the paper, and whatever came out. So it was nice. So appreciate you guys taking a part of this show.
Sure, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely hit every kind of idea that I had for this episode. Andrew, do you have anything in closing?
No, this is fun. It was nice talking to other people. So I appreciate you guys very much.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
Thanks. I want to shout you guys out. Thanks for reaching out, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're not those guys that are, I know I've been hearing. I'm surprised, but I've been hearing that you have some people that you reach out to, and they're like, hell no, I'm not coming on. And I'm not doing nobody else's show. So I'm surprised at that. But we're not those guys. If you can't get all four of us, you'll probably at least get one of us. So we appreciate you wanting us to come on, man. And we humbled by it. You guys have a good show. Keep it up. Keep pushing anything. Any other time you want us to come on, man, just let us know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we'll have to come up with some random ass topic to discuss.
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there. But so where can everybody listen to your guys' podcast?
Oh man, Alex, you can spew it off. What you got?
Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google, Castbox. I mean, it's wherever there's a podcast at, we're out there.
And YouTube.
YouTube.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Off the Record Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, OTR underscore Twitter, OTR underscore Mike for me. OTR Brandon.
OTR Brandon for me.
Yeah, OTR Quan for Quan, and then Alex, you are Lakers Central CEO. And also follow his Lakers Central podcast because we like to cross promote both shows. And Instagram, OTR underscore podcast. I know I'm rambling, but I'm trying to get all of that out.
OTR underscore Brandon.
And just if you love the Lakers, Lakers Central 365 on Twitter and on IG.
Awesome. Sounds good. So you can catch the Second City podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, TuneIn, all that stuff. Twitter is at Second City Podcast. And that is it. Andrew, help us out.
I didn't have any burps in this episode, but that's because there's other people here. But trust me, I've been like quietly burping into my hand the entire fucking episode. So just imagine me burping our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you for being courteous.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, peace out.
Have you ever felt like a sloth? Going about your day extremely slow, not getting much accomplished? Well, have no fear, because I, Justin, am here to give you a swift kick in your ass. I have partnered with Rep Sports, the creators of the Raz Energy drink, and we have partnered to come up with an exclusive offer to all my listeners. If you visit repsports.com and you make a purchase, if you put in a discount code KFP, you will receive 15% off of your purchase. Again, visit repsports.com. Once you make your final purchase, put in this promo code KFP and you will get an additional 15% off your total. And that, my friend, is how I'm going to get your ass moving. Thank you for listening to the Second City Podcast. If you're listening to this on Apple, please leave us a nice review. Rate us 5 stars. It would be greatly appreciated. Regardless of what app you're listening to this fine podcast on, leave us a rating. Leave us a review. All right? Let everybody know that this podcast is the shit. Thank you very much. We appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you guys very, very soon.